Just finishing up. On the other side, we've got all of the bracing and blocks done for the corners. So I put it on a sawhorse so it's not crunching down on the ground. And I've finished on this side, putting all those in. One thing I did is varnished inside there before I forget to do that. Eric had a good idea. He only did one sheet. He left the other sheet off so that he could get a bunch of stuff in there and work inside there. I haven't looked at all his videos, but I think the rudder lines go through there and stuff like that. So it is easier probably to do that with only putting one side on. Get all your stuff done, spray it with your varnish, and then put the back side on there afterwards. Probably the easy way to go there. I had to reach down in there, and I got an old rag soaked in varnish and got all that through there. So that's done there. My little thing turned out really good. That is feather light. I don't have a scale that's light enough to actually weigh that. So what I did is 1/32, 1/32, and then glued up 3 strips of the geodetic. Put it in like that. I don't know if you can see where that one is there. The geodetic's just getting glued onto the 1/32, and then put a couple of geodetics in here to add bracing in the middle so it stays solid. And that is really light, and it gives a good support for the stringers. This stringer, the main stringer, I used 1/2 inch by 3/4, so I did a little 1/4 inch gouge in there, and that centers it, and that holds it on par there. And then the other 1/2 inch will just go down on top of that like that. So that one's done. I'm just doing the biggest one, laying it up, and it'll come at the front here, something like that. Then what I can do is get all the stringers from the cab all the way down to the tail, get those formed on there, and then the other bulkheads I can measure and just stick in there so that it's a nice consistent straight line all the way down. And it'll be a nice rounded top to the turtle deck. So stay tuned on that. That's going on as a few jobs here and there and everywhere are happening. Doing a little work on the tail. So we've already got this one little piece in, that little triangular piece there on the tail. That is that little triangular piece there. Then we put in DHF 24 there. That's the one that sits on top there. I just cut the little notches in there to actually make it fit inside that little corner where those don't come together. And then we've got DH24A goes on the bottom. I haven't got that one in. DH25, it goes on a couple things with the plans here. It goes on top of the bottom frames or longerons or whatever you want to call it. So it sits on top here. It is not level because this is 3/8. This is only 1/4 inch. So it doesn't sit level here, it actually sits down. That amount there. Get the stupid thing out of the way. So DH24 sits on the longerons on that 3/4 inch block. DH25 sits on the longerons too, and that little gap there isn't at the bottom, it's at the top. So it is not level. There's the shape of it. There's kind of the shape of it, and I had to adjust it here, stupid physics, because unless you build it as you are actually putting in the floor, I guess, it doesn't, stupid batteries. Anyways, so that's in there like that. There's that little lip there because 1/4 inch, 3/8, so it's a little higher. But you have to make these little grooves on that board so when you're putting it in, it will actually fit in there. So you could keep it square without doing those little grooves if, how would you do that? When you're putting on the bottom cross members, you would have to, before you put in that cross member, you would have to lift that floor up, slide that cross member when it's upside down, put the cross member on with just this board hanging loose, like that. I guess you could glue it to the longerons when it's upside down and glue that cross member when it's upside down, glue that cross member in place so that when you're lifting, yeah, so when it's upside down, put this board on. I don't even know if that would work because you still have it coming this way. I don't know if you can see what I'm pointing at here because up here there's a brace. So yeah, physics, man. Not that it's a big deal, it's just a little cutout there. But yeah, I don't know if that would work. You'd have to put it in place when you're attaching the tail together and have it sitting there so that it would come together right at that moment. And then you would add the cross bracing on the bottom afterwards. Or you cut a little notch in it here and a little notch in it there so that you can actually get it into place. I've got these little guys glued up. I sanded down here just slightly at an angle so that fits flat for a couple inches there. So that's the, I don't know what you call those things. It's what the horizontal stabilizer sits on. But I got those in place. Yeah, just doing a little bit of work. Now I'm just pondering this main stringer. Well, the main one is the center one here. Pondering this one. Where it's sitting there, this is just about where it would sit if I hadn't changed the tail. So it's sitting out about like this. I cut this down, rounded it off, and I brought it down lower. So it's going to be sitting right about there. I've created this circular motion to the turtle deck. So it's bringing this down several inches lower, and it's also bringing it in a bit. What I looked and I pondered on this, try to do this with one hand. When it's sitting like this, which is center between the two, the fabric is going to come up and around like this. It's all going to be rounded here. The transition is what I'm concerned about, where you transition into the fin. And it's going to transition to something like this kind of an angle. There's going to be quite a lot of angle, or quite a lot of wasted space here where the air has to go around. I'm going to bring this up closer to the top, cutting down this area. Instead of being out here with the fabric is coming right down like this. Now my thinking is that's going to make the tail more efficient. Your vertical fin and your rudder are going to be more efficient because that air is going smoothly over it rather than being out here and having to come down and in. You're getting a longer, straighter airflow over this vertical fin rather than having this out and having the fabric coming out more. You're going to have to make up for this area between the rudder, or the horizontal stabilizer is going to sit through here like this. I've got the blocks on here, and that's what the horizontal stabilizer is going to sit on. So you're making this gap bigger. This gap has to be filled with a filler piece that goes in after you put the horizontal stabilizer in there and the elevator go in here. Then you put on a fairing over top of this. They call, because it was square before, just pieces of plywood that go in there, 1/16 plywood. I was always going to do Algae did aluminum, aluminum. I'm going to do fiberglass. So it's just as easy to make a fiberglass piece that's this big rather than this big. Adding a couple more inches onto the fiberglass fairing here isn't going to make more work, isn't going to do a darn thing. So I'm going to move my main stringer, other than the center one, but my main stringer from out here, I'm moving it down and up here, and then I'll have my fiberglass fairing that I'll build in here to cover up the area between the horizontal stabilizer and this big hole that's in here. This way, I figure, I'm making the tail more efficient because the fabric is going to come down and it's only got a little bit of a join here, a swoopiness to it here. So you're going to get that vertical stabilizer is going to be more efficient because the airflow is going to come right into it. Maybe we're going to have more efficiency on the elevator. You're going to have the airflows coming closer and more straight over that as well. We'll see. And then we'll have, going from the roundness here up to the square end there, there'll be more of a transition in this area coming from wide to skinnier. I don't want to say quicker. I don't know if the word's quicker, but there'll be more of a bend up here, bringing it the main stringer anyways, bringing it down and in like that. Instead of being out here, it's going to be brought up here. So you're going to have more of a bend up there. It'll slightly change the flow up here. Well, there's going to be a change in flow anyways from straight to rounded. And my thinking is there, if I can get that flow happening sooner up here, then it's a more stable flow as it comes down and the air comes in across the horizontal stabilizer and vertical stabilizer. That's what I'm going to do anyway. And we'll see how that works. That'll be stuck in there, something like that. And that stringer will go, and I'll have the other bulkheads, I'll have that bend to that stabilizer there. Then I'll have a couple more just supports in here. They won't be as big as the main stabilizers. I'll have smaller ones in there. We'll see how it goes anyways. All right, carry on. All right. We've got these risers, I don't know what you call this, but we've got those glued in place. I did something at the back here. Now the fabric is going to go and wrap over here. So the fabric will wrap over here, I'll leave this hole in the middle, but that's covered with your elevator. But back here wouldn't be. So I put a block across the back, and I did a little corner block here. And what this will do, the fabric will cover all this, but these blocks are making sure there's no opening down into the fuselage for water intrusion there. The elevator is going to, or the horizontal stabilizer is going to sit on top here, and then I'm going to make fairings to cover any opening there. So that's going to cover, so there's not going to be water intrusion into the fuselage that way, because the fabric will cover this, the fabric will cover this. This up is going to be covered with fabric. I'm still looking at that, and what I've done for those stringers that are going to come along, I've put a little block here that the stringers will sit on, just to go straight from here all the way up. I didn't want them just being glued, butt jointed onto there without a lot of support. So I built this to give it support. There's still enough room for the elevator to fit in here, and the elevator operates. So there's enough room there. I've got little strips on here that I'm going to sand down to round out that tail post to get it all one smooth line all the way down. I've got my big bulkhead done. I did that one the other day. I did finish off this one today. And then I'm going to do at least one more in the middle here. And maybe two more. We'll see how they all fit in there. But this is working well. 1/32, just with that laminated in there. And I've got inside there just geodetics in there, and this is light. I'm going to try and put on a scale, but I don't even know if that'll measure. It's probably only a pound or two. And that's for forming the round turtle deck coming all the way down. And that's the first one. So I'm going to have the stringer from this corner coming down, coming down, coming down, coming down, and that one goes all the way back and will sit on there. So that's what I've done. Oh yes, I also put the blocking in here in this one. This one doesn't actually fit. What you have to do if you want it to fit perfectly is put it into place while you're attaching the sides. I didn't do that, so I had to take out a little chunk on the corner here so you could fit it in and then twist it into place. And a little bit right there. because stupid physics. It just doesn't fit otherwise. So that's on there. I have to do one more large gusset from there. I believe it comes all the way down to here somewhere on the bottom face of that. That would be DHF24A, I believe, is the one that goes right on the bottom. Yep. So, we're coming along. Me doing this stupid inventing stuff takes a little bit of time and brain power to think about doing that, but I think the results will be good. All right, got it up in the air so I can actually work at it at a normal level. I finished the blocking on this side. I still have to do the one block in there. I'm doing a different landing gear configuration, but I will still use, I believe, the landing gear mounts on the fuselage right about here. There are some blocking underneath there. I'm going to make sure that the wheels, where the wheels would have met on the traditional landing gear, I'll have the wheels under that same position on the body. But I'm going to go with not a sprung, but a composite sprung wheel gear. And that's why I'm just playing with laminating up these little round things. We'll do the dash next for laying up the composite, whatever you call them, stringers, I guess, to hold up the dash. And then I'm going to do that for the landing gear as well. I'll have one piece all the way across and down, and then get axles and wheels and mount those. So that's where we're at this week.